Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to our Buddy to Boss podcast. In this podcast, Liv will be interviewing Domenic Piscatelli, who is a pest operations manager in the Melbourne office. Enjoy. Welcome, and thank you very much for attending our session today. Now tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience so far.
Okay, look, my background started when I was a young 22-year-old in a workplace down at the airport, and I just needed a part-time job to get yourself through uni. Didn't think of it as a career. It was just a part-time job, but sort of fell in love with the job and built a career out of it. So along the way, I decided to show some initiative to learn more and more skills along the way, and behold, it opened some doors for me into some team leader. So my first job was from a baggage handling person, just lifting luggage and making planes go out on time and just using bare muscle and more brawn than brain sort of situation. But then sort of got bored with that. I wanted to upskill myself, started learning different skills on how I could participate better in the team. I ended up being a team leader after about 10 years of doing that. So that was my first taste of a buddy to boss, but that was a bit more informal, because the team leader to me was more, you're still part of the front line, but you're not really responsible for anything but a small team. So I did that for about 3 years, and decided to go to some business school on the weekend and just upskill, because I wanted to jump into management. My first taste of the transition piece of buddy to boss was more around how do I tell somebody what to do, who's used to me being one of the lads, so to speak. You socialise with them, you have coffee, you've been out, you've talked really about football and whatever, on an informal basis. But now I've got to tell them to do their job, and these guys have seen me come in as a young 22-year-old, and now I'm over 30, and these guys are like, could be my father or grandparent at the time. So I learned some harsh lessons. So if anyone was to ask me how I dealt with that, I didn't deal with it very well at first. I did get a boot up the backside by my boss at the time. He called me in and said, "You cannot speak to people like that. You are now into management. You can't be." Not that I was swearing or anything, but it was more around I was being very direct and just telling him, you need to do this. But it was one thing that I got taught was my delivery needed to improve. And when I say my delivery of a message, it was to be a bit softer. So had to use some soft skills in there, and sort of supportive and coaching and why. So the communication piece is why I need you to do this, and what the ripple effect if we don't do it has a ramification to the customer and other team members, and the flow-on effect to the business. So it was around just painting the big picture of why the decision and why I need things done. But it was all about the tone and the body language as well, but also not coming across as an arrogant, I know everything, I'm the boss sort of thing, which is what I did as the first few weeks into that transition. I thought, I'm the boss, I can do what I want. But I quickly got put in my place.
And is that why you took that approach? Because you had that mentality of, I'm the boss, I can do what I want, tell everyone how they need to do their jobs? Is that where that came from, or was it more your natural style and that's what you were used to?
No, so the culture of that business was a little bit different. It's a very blue collar business, and I saw how other managers used to, deliver their message when I was a team leader, and I sort of, oh, okay, this sort of is what they do. So I tried to mimic that. So quickly found out that the senior management were trying to transition away from that, real authoritarian, direct management style. So it was more to be, that soft approach, the listen, the care, and the coaching and mentoring. So I took that upon. That's where I naturally am. I'm more of a mentor, and I love to see people grow within their roles. I'm huge on development. because I was believed in, and I like to see other people achieve what I've achieved, because if I can do it, I think anyone else can. To see, my biggest goal was to every business that I've been in since is to grab someone from the front line and develop them into a manager, which is the most rewarding thing for me to do, and to see them to shine out there in those roles. It's just a magical feeling, if you know what I mean. It's
we all want to be connected, some more than others, but we still all want to be connected.
Yeah,
it's really, and I think it makes having tough conversations just that little bit easier.
It does.
You have that relationship.
Look, the tough conversations. You're always going to have tough conversations where it doesn't go to plan. To me, if you're starting out, one of the biggest things I learned is to know your policies. Read your policies, your business policies, understand we're all governed by those policies. It's not the pretty part of what we do as leaders, but if you've got policies, make sure you know them, and you can always refer to them to educate against them, because they might not know that. You might need to remind them what's on the policy, and that way, give them a copy of it even. This might be helpful to read this. But yeah, it's ultimately, understanding what makes them tick to me, and, what shortfalls do your staff have to achieve the ultimate goal. It might be what they don't know, don't assume ever. Yeah.
And I love your tips around, sometimes the policies are important and we all adhere to them, whatever they might be. Do you have any other tips for someone coming into a leadership role and potentially even having to manage their peers?
Look, I think visible leadership is key. You need to be part of it. You can't, in my opinion, you can sit behind a desk. What I know works is be out there at the forefront of the coalface, so to speak, and be part of what they go through, understand what their day-to-day is, get involved, be hands-on, be interested, learn. They have a lot of skill to teach you as a manager. Like, I don't, know everything. I think the biggest thing is pick their brains. They have the experience. They're happy to provide, the experience if you ask them. Value your employees, value your team. They make or break you, and vice versa. So they're coming to you for certain things. Give them the time. Loop back is one of the biggest things that I would recommend. Is always loop back to your staff. If they come to you with a query, whether it be good or bad outcome, always loop back and give them the close out. Always close out anything. They might have an idea that might not work or might not, but always say, look, I'm going to look into that. I'm going to actually do the due diligence behind it. But always go back and close it off. Yes, it was a great idea, but we've had to change a couple of things. What do you think? This is probably make them part of the journey, but it's important never to ignore your staff. That's probably my biggest tip is, don't just sit and forget. It's and it's an ongoing relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there are lessons you've learned along the way. Sometimes we come in with a certain perspective about leadership, but it's that journey that teaches us a lot.
Absolutely. You never stop learning in leadership. There's always different challenges. I think just being abreast of what's going on within your team, learn off your peers. If you're unsure, use the resources within the business. We got great business partners, HR, and so forth that were happy to guide you. I'll hit up our HR business partner all the time, and she's more than happy to share her experiences, because we all have different ones, and it's sort of like a both. I might have seen something that worked in the past. She might have seen, go to your colleagues that may have seen something different. Don't assume you know everything, and don't ever sit in silence. Don't suffer in silence. Don't think you're there to take everything on your shoulders. Share that information. Share the ups and downs. It's not good to just keep it all inside. Just talk about it. Make time for yourself. And one of the key things that I've taken on recently, and is a reset. I used to sit down and not have lunch, for many years. I wouldn't take a break. I just worked the whole way through and do 10 hours without having a break. But now it's important from a mental health perspective is to down your tools, your pen, your iPad, whatever, your laptop, go for a walk, 15-minute walk, clear the brain, get back into it. And I think you're more productive that way. And, if you get yourself a bit worked up over something, then that's an opportune time to reset.
Dom, I've loved everything that you've said, especially the last part about self-care. That's really important, and that's something that we've spoken about quite a bit throughout our leadership journey and Rentokil as a whole. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you so much for your time today. You've given us some great tips and strategies and learning, so we really appreciate your time. Thanks, Dom.